Okay, so in the previous tutorial we have seen how we can add this forward facing start animes, but here as you can see, whenever we are moving, it seems like sort of a acceleration issue is there, right? Because actually we are currently applying for the acceleration whenever we start moving, but we are not properly configuring the braking acceleration. So what will happen is like the acceleration won't change gradually when we make a new movement change, right? So it is pretty much noticeable if we try this walk animation. So you can see if I try to make a start at the walking, you can see sort of like a foot sliding is there before even starting the animation. The character is sliding through the ground, right? So in order to minimize this issue, actually we can introduce some braking acceleration for the animation. So it will start slowly. Okay, so the braking acceleration actually you can find out at the character movement. So if you go to this BP character player base, inside the character movement we have this braking friction factor as the one of the configuration. Plus we have this braking acceleration working, right? So it says simply the deceleration when walking and not applying acceleration. This is a constant opposing force that directly lower velocity by a constant value, right? So it can be used to slowly increase the acceleration, right? So the velocity also gradually increases, because obviously when you increase in the acceleration gradually, the velocity also increase in the gradually, but the rate of increase will be bit lower. Okay. Great. Now I think we need to introduce some changes to this config, right? So since it involves data table change, let's export it outside as usual. So we will have the latest copy of the data table. Okay. Then let's jump back to the data table. Inside there, actually, let's go to the structs, movement, and its name config. So there, let's add a new variable called braking acceleration, deceleration. Okay, right. Basically, we are going to manipulate this variable here, right? So this should be a false float. So save it, and nm config is used at any movement. Let's save it as well, so we are good to go. Then let's go to the any movement group, save it again, we are good to go. Finally, let's go to the anim set, save it, good to go. And finally at the data table, save it. And then let's go to the component, compile. Yeah, it has some inconsistency issue, so it crashes the engine. So let's restart. These sort of issues actually can be happen, so you need to be able to figure out if such case happens. So I think this is a good time to resolve such issues. Okay, so I'll open the this stuff, right? And I believe we have that record here, but obviously at the component level, in your yeah, it's compiled. Yeah, maybe once we restart the engine, it's automatically resolved. That's great. Okay, right now, since this is acceleration based configurations, I think it's better if I move it here, right? Save. This one also save. One is there. Save this one and this one. Save all. Compile. Save. Yeah. So at the data table level, now we have that field at here. Yeah. So now we have to get this value to where? To our component level. Right? So inside the component, actually we have this set moment config function, and here we have this set max acceleration. Similarly, let's create a new function to set this braking deceleration. Okay, so I'll create a new function called set deceleration. Okay, and like we did the set max acceleration, let's get the character movement component reference. Let's set it here. Set braking deceleration. Okay. Let's assign it to set as category. And inside the set movement config function, let's call that and attach it to here. Okay. Now as the default configurations, we can provide some values. Maybe let's start with walk. So walk, I will assign the same value as the braking acceleration. And yeah, before that, let's go to this anim config. Under the default value, actually we can assign some of the default acceleration working value at here as well. So maybe I'll assign 124 and same as acceleration. Save. We will be having some default value at our data table, I believe, but let's see. Save this one and movement data structure, group data structure, and finally is anim set data structure, and finally this one, and component level. Save it and compile. Yeah. So if I look at some of the config, yeah, now we have this default variable. So since we have already populated these records at the data table instance, actually these records are pre-initialized with 0 value, but whenever you try to edit a new record, these values will be having a default value, right? But for now, let's manually add the values here, right? So for working, the braking deceleration working is same as the max acceleration, which is 512. And for jog also, let's have the same deceleration value. And for crouch, let's have the same one. So save all, and let's play test this one. Okay, so the gradual increase is there. For walk, yep, you see now the updating rate is pretty much slow, right? Because it applies sort of a braking acceleration, right? So now it doesn't have a foot sliding at the start state, right? See, great, right? And let's test the crouch as well. Yep, crouch also works properly, no foot sliding. Okay, so that's how we improve at the acceleration. But here you can see like there are some bugs we need to fix later on. For example, like I think we had that bugs earlier as well. For example, if I try to crouch and if I try to press the walk, it still sorry, not that one. If I try to crouch again, if I try to uncrouch, yeah, it works properly. But I think in some instance we had sort of a walk speed updating issue. But later on we can actually fix those stuff when we are introducing sort of like component based movement changes, right? Because actually later on we are going to add some inventory items, weapon items, things like that. So based on the item that the character is carrying on, or based on the transition where the player provided as the input, we can dynamically change those stuff instead of hard coding at the input actions at the player base like this. So when we're introducing those changes, such edge case scenarios will be get fixed. But for now, I think overall it works properly, right? So if I make the final demo, this is the jog, no foot sliding, and this is the walk, again, no foot sliding, and this is the crouch, and no foot slide at the start state, right? Because we introduced this braking, deceleration, walking. Okay, so that's what I want to cover today, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.